Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Influence Me. I'm super happy to be back, and I'm really nervous. This has been a long time in the making. You guys have no idea how many times I've tried to record this. Today, I'm going to share a little bit about who I am, a little bit about my story. And I wanted to bring someone in that was that's really special to me. She reached out and she's like, hey, like, people want to know your story. I want to interview you. And I'm super happy that she's going to do this for me. And thank you. I really appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen, with us today, Marlyn Perez in the house.
Hi, guys. What's up? I honestly feel really honored to do this as well. And I was telling Adrian, I'm like, people need to know about you, because he's always interviewing. You're always interviewing people and taking photos of people as well. So I'm like, why not you?
No, thank you for being here. Before we get started, I want people to know a little bit about who you are. So if you can kind of introduce yourself to the audience.
He puts me on the spot. I thought it was all about you. Well, my name is Marlyn, but I also go by Mar. I'm a first generation Mexican American. Mis papás son de Mexico and amo andar en Mexico. Amo visitar. I work in real estate. So if you have any questions about buying a home, selling a home, I am your girl.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And you're really passionate about what you do. I seen your Instagram stories. I seen, like, in the mornings, you like to motivate people. So that's the reason why I really wanted you here, because I always see you're trying to share positivity.
Thank you.
And I'm the same way, right? Even though, like, at times maybe we're not going through the most positive things or moments in our life, we always kind of try to figure out, or at least I can tell that you can always try to figure out, how to turn your negative day into a positive, right?
Yeah.
Or how to kind of turn it around.
I think that's needed because life is hard. And I know you know that, and I think a lot of the times we just need, like, someone to uplift us. And there have been times where I hesitate on sharing something and then someone will reach out and say, like, oh, I really needed this. So you never know. But yeah, and I would say I'm more so, like, passionate about helping people in general. I think in any industry that you're in, if it's in the service industry, whether that's, taking photos or being a waitress, which I was for many years, it's like you genuinely want to have that want to help. And when people see that you're genuine and it's not about what's, beneficial to me, it's about what's beneficial to them, then I feel like you'll continue to get, like, clients that way. Yeah.
And that's the reason why I really wanted to do this, because on my Instagram, for those of you who follow me, I would post like I was kind of ranting, or I just needed to talk and just let something out. Yeah. And I was posting, a lot of people could kind of, what do you call it? Like, they can relate to what I was saying and the feelings that I was feeling as a business owner and as a person. So I was like, okay, I need to get this out, and I need to share a little bit of who I am, because I'm gonna be honest with you guys too. I think I've been hiding behind the camera. Yeah, I've noticed that I do that a lot. Even on the podcast, even when, like, I'm interviewing people, I'll try not to show my angle as much. I'll just say the question, like, oh, here, you answer it. Right? So? I don't know. I'm afraid to just be like, you know what? This is who I am. I love doing this, and I'm just gonna go 100%. I don't know, maybe because I don't want to get there. I just kind of like working. I just kind of like the feeling of, like, oh, I'm gonna, like, a challenge, or I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. But then when I see that, hey, like, this is becoming a little serious, I kind of, like, I shy away from it, because I feel that it's gonna turn into a job for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, I like it when it's fun. I like it when it's like, oh, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that, like, more like a game. Yeah. But then when it starts getting, like, a little serious, and it's like, oh, hey, you have to be consistent with it now. Like, it's more like a job, and it just kind of gets like a little fuck. Like,
isn't that an interesting balance? Like, I've done, like, a small podcast before, and sometimes it was really fun, but then other times I'm like, okay, we have to record. Going back to who you are, I'd love to start off with your foundation, where you grew up, what was your childhood like, and tell me a little bit about that.
Right. So I grew up, I was born in Santa Ana, grew up the majority, or I would say from all elementary, I was in Garden Grove. But then from there, like, we would go on and off, like, all different cities. We would move from different cities to cities because of my dad. My dad actually was an alcoholic.
How would that affect you, like, emotionally? And I know you're the oldest, for those that don't know, right? Yeah. Yeah.
I'm the oldest out of 4. I have a younger sister and 2 younger brothers. But yeah, it would. I think even to this day, I think there's definitely a lot of trauma. Yeah. Definitely a lot of, I know for sure I have his, my mom says that yo tengo su carácter de él, which is like...
¿Cómo su carácter? A ver, cuéntame.
Super happy. He's super happy. For those of you who know my dad, he's a fucking happy guy. He likes to tell jokes. He likes to mess around. Really, he's a good teacher, like, just a prankster, like, just all of that. But when he gets fucking mad, he gets fucking mad. Wow. And the alcohol wouldn't help him. you know, that kind of would take over that part of the brain and just kind of would fucking be a savage with people. But I'm like that too. I'm really lovable and I'm really happy and I'm really joyful and I'm really like, I'm fun. I don't like to be a fake person. Like I just, how I am right now, I'm all the time. But also when people disappoint me or when I get mad or whatever, it's like, I do like it. It's hard for me to, not take it in a bad way or not take it, you know, like I really am really emotional. When I give you my love, I give you my love to the fullest. Yeah. So when you hurt me, that's when it's like, fuck.
Like you feel like the emotions like 100%.
Yeah. I can't do that 50-50. Like I kind of like you, I kind of don't. It's either I fucking fuck with you or I don't fuck with you.
I'm glad I'm glad we chill. All right. Yeah, must stay. No, just kidding. But let me ask you this, you know, for those that don't know, you do not drink.
No.
And that was a big shock to me.
Yeah.
The last time I came in here, I'm like, oh, let's take a shot, you know?
No.
Ya de broma, ¿verdad? But I was like, wow, that's really impressive because the way your life appears on Instagram where you're shooting these really fun parties and people are taking shots like crazy, right?
Yeah, I get a lot of that. They'll tell me like, hey, like take a shot. And it sucks in my work field because I know that with me, it's like more of a vibe. Like, oh, let's vibe, you know, like take a shot, like, you know, with the videographer or whatever. So they'll do that with the DJ as well. But no, like I tell them like, no, I can't. Like I don't drink.
Nunca se te antoja? Like you've never been like, oh, I kind of want to see what it's like.
No.
Have you ever been drunk? Have you ever had anything?
I've never zero alcohol. And again, that's due to my dad. You know, that comes from that. I was like, there's one time that it's gonna get a little deep, guys. There's one time that it was the middle of the night. I believe it was the middle of the night, and I woke up because my mom was crying. Oh. And I was like, what the fuck's going on? Yeah. And I think this is the first time that I kind of realized, because I kind of knew maybe subconsciously what was going on, but I just didn't want to accept it because I love my dad. Yeah. But I noticed that he hit her, that he at that night he hit her. And as I think I was like 7, 8 years old. Yeah. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, it was like 3-4 hours ago, or you know, earlier during the day, like we were super happy, we were super cool, but as soon as he started drinking, like that shit just flipped. So I never, even to this day, judge my dad on his person, like his person. I have more of a beef with the alcohol. You know, I really learned that at a young age. And I remember that night was the night that I remember, like, I don't want to like ever like go through this, because especially I know that I'm like him. Yeah. I don't want that to take over me and for me to not be able to control myself and not to be able to, you know.
You know, I really have to give you props for that, because when you were so young, honestly, like a very young child, right? 7, 8 years old. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times in life we can self-sabotage ourselves, where you're like, oh man, I don't want to be like this, but like, I don't even care to move in a more positive way. So I'm just going to fall in the same footsteps. Mm-hmm. And to even say like, you've never even had like a sip of alcohol or like ever even been buzzed is really admirable. Yeah. Especially in a society where drinking is a social thing. And a lot of times,
at times I do feel left out, though. You know, I'm not gonna lie.
That's where you get like a mocktail, you know, or like una agua mineral con algo.
It's funny. You're funny. There's 2 days ago I went to an event, and the bartender's like, I've seen him once in a while. And he's like, hey man, how you been? Good, whatever. And he's like, hey, like, you want a shot? Whenever, just let me know. Like, I'll let you cut in line, you know, because there's always like
special
long lines. And they're like, no, you know, you're a vendor. Like, I'm a vendor. Like, I'll hook you up. And I was like, okay, but I don't drink. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, yeah, I've never drank. He's like, oh shit. He's like, I'll make you a virgin drink.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, like,
no one's do that. Because sometimes, you know, you just want to hold a beverage. And the interesting thing is if you're holding something, like, people will just feel more comfortable. Yeah. You know, but like I said, it's a social thing. People, let's go out for a drink. Some people drink because they like to de-stress that way. So I'm really proud of you.
Yeah, no, you know? Thank you.
And I'm sure people tell you that all the time, but that's really admirable.
Yeah, in the beginning when I was in my 20s, and my uncles would be like, oh, una cerveza. And I was like, no. No más que llegas a los 25, a los 30, vas a ver que vas a... I was like, nah, like, I don't think so. So I always did have people that obviously doubted that I was not going to, because of my dad, you know, they obviously thought I was going to follow his footsteps. But no, like, I literally, that night I was like, you know what, I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to do anything. Wow. And I'm also going to show, because, you know, my mom and my dad were on and off. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing that kind of I admire about my mom, is that she when she said, like, you know what, that's it. like that's fucking it. Like
wow.
we're done.
That is hard for a woman.
Yeah, and especially because he was the one that was bringing in the income, and that I you know, I mean, my mom took all four of us and just fucking, you know, made it happen, you know. And I saw her struggle, and maybe at the time when I was a teenager I didn't understand it, but I do understand it now that I have my kids. And it fucking sucks, you know, like being by yourself and having to work, and people probably even talking shit on her, judging her kids on how they are, how they act. Like we would hear a little bit of that stuff. And it sucked, you know, because I would hear her cry at nights, you know, like when she, you know, about money, about, you know, sadness, because it's not just the money too, like it's like her being by herself and feeling lonely and all that shit. And same goes with my dad now.
Have you ever asked her, like, what was it that kept you going? Like, what was it that gave you strength in those like difficult moments?
I haven't, and it's a conversation that I really do want to have with my mom. I really actually want to have her here. That's the reason why I wanted to do these podcasts as well. I really want to talk to her about that, because I still feel that even till this day, maybe like, again, even like everyone I feel that has those traumas or have those memories that maybe, you know, we need to let it out. And I feel that she still needs to let that out.
Yeah. And I think too, like, it really is admirable, like the strength that your mom had to do that, because a lot of people will stay in a relationship that perhaps isn't the best physically, mentally, because of the fear of being alone. Yeah. And that uncomfortableness, and raising kids on your own, not only being like emotionally alone, but physically alone. And it is hard. It is very difficult to walk away from that. And your mom really chose, like, okay, what's going to be best for me and my kids.
Yeah, and when we were young, she would, I mean, they would go on and off, and at times yo le reclamaba, yo le decía, why'd you leave him? Why'd you leave him? Why? Because my dad was always the fun guy. It was always like, especially he would take me out to work with them in landscaping, and when I was like 7 years old.
What would you do at that age?
Make me go pick up the papers and shit. But he showed me a lot of work ethic and discipline, you know. And at 6 a.m. every Saturday, let's get up, go, you know, for las donas, and then from there let's go to work. And then, hey, how you gonna pay me? He's like, no, te voy a comprar una hamburguesa. That's it. Like, all right, fuck it. I was happy with that. Yeah, I was happy with that, because I just like spending time with them and their jokes and the radio, like all those memories I really do cherish. Yeah. But then again, when my mom would be like, we're leaving, I was like, what the fuck? Like, why? Like, why? And one time I remember I asked her, I was like, I call him, tell him you want him back. Like, because I wanted that feeling again. We just don't know. But I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
When my parents divorced, my mom moved into an apartment, and my dad would come by to visit her. And honestly, I think my dad was like trying to get her back or something. And I miss my dad so much. I didn't understand what was going on. And I remember just crying on the balcony in the patio, be like, Dad. And my mom would be like, métete a la casa. And I would literally just cry and be like, Mom, why are you so mean? I'm like, let me go with my dad. But I had no idea like what was going on between them. I just thought, at the time I was like, it's so mean of my mom to like not let me go with him when he's like in the car. Yeah. But I'm like, you just don't understand, because you just want your parents to be together, right?
You wanted that family.
Yeah.
And that was really hard, and you know.
Let me ask you this right now. What is your relationship with your father now?
Oh, we're super cool. Yeah. Like, we're super cool. Like, again,
do you have any resentment towards him?
No, not at all.
Oh, Mina?
Not at all. Just because, again, even after they separated, I would still go visit him, and I started feeling more empathy and for him, you know. Because I knew what it was. I knew that he couldn't let that go, because he did try. He did try when him and my mom would go back. He would try for a couple months, but it was just an addiction for him.
What would you say to someone that's watching the show that has a father that is struggling with substance abuse, alcoholism, and they're holding resentment towards them, or they're holding anger? What advice?
I can't speak on the anger part, because there's like, maybe there can be like deeper things in that. But when it comes to like someone that's like, that has those addictions to alcohol, I can only say, like, from my point of view, is like what helped my dad was like him knowing that we were there, even though he knows that he pushed us away, and he knows that he left us. So I would say love. I would say definitely making sure that he knows that he's loved, and he's not alone. Yeah. I think that's what helped him. Right. Recently, my dad now, every year he goes to church and tells the padre, like, hey, voy a jurar por un año, no voy a tomar. And then the padre is like, okay, after the que cumplas, you can drink three or 4 days or whatever. Oh. And then so he drinks, he gets fucking fucked up, he has fun, and then again, jura otra vez. And I think that's healthy for him, because the whole year he's obviously detoxed from that. And then he gets those 3 or 4 days of, you know, fuck it, I'm gonna fuck him.
I wonder how your father feels after.
Yeah. I know him for sure. I've spoken to him in a really deep level. I think I have more of a than my other brothers. I have more of a, he lets out things with me. You know, we've cried together even before he went to, because he actually got deported 10 years ago.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So before that, when I was already driving, I would go and visit him and stuff like that. And, you know, I would try to be there as much as I could. So
how was it when your dad got deported?
I was actually getting out of the shower. My uncle called me. He's like, "Hey, I just want to let you know that deported your dad." At the time, I didn't really know what that meant. You know, I still had my own fucking problems. I had my own shit going on. So at the time, I was like, okay, like, so we're gonna bring him back. Like, it's not a big deal. But then when I started like figuring out, like, oh shit, like he's gonna be over there by himself. No one's gonna be there with him. I'm afraid of flights. So I don't like flying. So I want to go over there and visit him. And my fear of planes is what, I have to drive all the way over there, man.
And he's gonna vlog the whole thing.
No, but yeah, I just feel that's the sad part right now, is that I really want to go visit him, and he's over there and he's like by himself, and like I mentioned before, like Christmas and New Year's and all those things, like that's where I feel that empathy for him right now, because he's over there by himself.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't realize you were scared of flying.
Yeah, I actually tried flying. I went with Chiquis, and they hit me up and they're like, "Oh, we want to book you for a video," and I was like, "Okay, cool. Where at?" And they're like, "Oh, it's gonna be in I think it was San Francisco or Sacramento."
And you went.
And I went, and I was like, "Fuck it!" And I went to her house, and then she's like, "Oh," I was vlogging the whole thing, and she's like, "Oh, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen." I was like, "Okay, it's all right," and I was like, thank God it's not gonna happen. I really wanted to pull out, and then like they're like, okay, you know what? Never mind, it is gonna happen. I was like, oh fuck! So we go in the truck, and then we're on our way to the airport.
Why are my hands sweating?
And I was like, I was like, hey, like I just want to let you know right now that I've never flown. The last time I flown when I was 8 years old. Like, I don't remember. And I was like, and I'm fucking scared. And she goes, "What the fuck?" And you know, Chiquis is Chiquis. She's like, "Oh fuck yeah, we're gonna pop your cherry then. You know, that's gonna be fun. Blah blah blah. Just relax. You know, this everything." I was like, "All right," but she made it really really chill.
Oh, good.
But it was only an hour flight, and it was not that bad. I mean, I just now I know for sure when I go visit my dad, I know I'll have to leave at night. That way I can kind of knock out on the plane. And,
Lord, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, but I'm scared of planes.
Okay, the fact that you were on a plane with Chiquis is really cool too.
Yeah.
And then, like, speaking about childhood and stuff and your upbringing, I know you were a young father, and tell us how that was. You know, what age did you become a father?
Yeah, I met my girlfriend, currently now my fiance. We met when we were in, I think it was from middle school to high school in that summer. I was about 14 years old, and you
were allowed to have girlfriends?
No, my mom was like, no, yeah, but she, you know, obviously she was working.
No decía nada. He didn't say anything.
But yeah, we got pregnant we were 16.
Wow.
And yeah, she's 16, and my daughter was born on October.
Wait, how did you find out? Did she call you? Like, were you guys together?
She actually was feeling bad. She was throwing up. She had that bad, like that throw up morning sickness stuff.
Gosh.
And she went to her doctors with her mom. She came back. She's like, "Hey, I'm pregnant." I was like, "Oh fuck!" I was really excited, actually.
Oh, you were?
I was excited.
I feel like you're a young guy, but like an old soul or something. Just like your level of maturity, and
maybe because of what we went through with my parents. You know,
for
like,
sure.
You know,
I think that
has a lot to do.
Yeah.
But I was really excited. But then when she told me, she's like, "Oh, I'm pregnant," I was like, "Oh fuck, for real?" And she's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh fuck yeah!" Like, I was super happy. But then when I went home, I started thinking, I was like, "Oh shit, like this is legit, like there's gonna be a person like that I'm gonna be responsible for."
That's
like,
crazy.
For a long time.
Isn't that crazy to think about?
So I started getting scared, and I started like, and I was like, "Oh shit, now I have to tell my mom." Now I have to now my aunts are gonna find out, like my cousins are gonna, what the fuck? So I just kind of started tripping out. And yeah, I told my mom, and mom was like, "What the fuck?" Like,
how did you tell her?
I was kind of messing with her. I was like, "Hey, ma, ¿qué pensarías que si algún día, you know, tú fueras abuelita?" And she's like, "Está chingada, cabrón, no vas a tener hijos."
I feel like that's like a typical like mom.
Yeah, she's like, no. Y sí, vas a ver.
Like don't play around, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, no más que miro con tus chingaderas. And I was like, "No, but I need to tell you something. No me digas. So I was like, "Yeah." And she goes, "Oh, you have to be responsible now. You have to like step up. You have to, you know, do your thing." Right. And yeah, and from there, like I just, I had a conversation with my girlfriend, and I was like, "Hey, like we're gonna do this. Like we're gonna see if we're figure it out. You know, I promise."
Were you living together with her, or?
Oh no, we're still in high school.
I know, that's why I'm so confused. So did you move in together, or?
Yeah, we first stayed separated until she was born.
Were her parents mad?
I know for sure her mom was. Oh, obviously her mom was, but she didn't tell her dad for a while. And her dad found out when she was like 6-7 months pregnant, I think.
Oh my God. I would have anxiety that whole time.
Yeah, and it was embarrassing for me because at the time I was already kind of sleeping over at her house. Her dad would be like, why is he always here? Why is he sleeping over? Like, what the hell's going on? You know? And
you're like making yourself coffee?
No. But it was already kind of like that point where like she was like serving me food, you know, like treating me like if I was like, you know, her man. And at the time we would go pick up cans at the beach.
Wow.
We were like already kind of trying to save or trying to show that I'm willing to do whatever.
Wow.
And, you know, we would go to the...
Were you working at all or just...
No, not at the time. When she was pregnant, not at the time. I was still trying to figure out with my school because at the time I was 16 and a half. So I was trying to figure out if I can get a part-time job and still stay in school. But so at nights we would go and pick up cans at the beach in Huntington Beach. And then the next day we'll go sell them.
How much money were you making off of that?
Oh, not a lot. Probably like a good $60.
Dude, I used to recycle cans too.
Yeah, it's not a lot. But I mean, for us at the time, it was like, oh, we're going to go get something to eat, or we're going to say, buy this clothes or buy these diapers. Kind of start, yeah. But then I started working. Obviously, I started working with my uncle. I got a part-time job with him. He was doing landscaping.
Okay.
And then when I decided like, okay, like I can't continue school because you know I couldn't do both at the time. I started working at a Korean market store. I started working bagging bags, you know, pushing carts and doing that. I did that for a while.
Why the Korean store?
Because my suegro worked there.
Oh.
So my suegro worked there and he's like, oh, I'm going to get you a job here. And I was like, all right, fuck it. You know, like at the time, again, I was just trying to show them like, hey, I'm going to step up. Like, I don't care what it is. I'm going to work. So I started working with him. I did that for like about a year.
Wow.
After that, I was like, you know what? I'm going to get another job. So I started working at the market plus Taco Bell.
Wow.
And I like Taco Bell better.
Hard worker.
So I was like, fuck it. I'm going to just leave that market
Why
shop.
didn't you like, why did you like more about Taco Bell versus
the food? I was always munching on food. I was like, shit, I get to eat here. Like, kids, yeah, it was cool. And then, so I started getting, I left the Korean job for a second job at Taco Bell because I was like, oh, I can do this like 2 times a day. So it's fine. And then from there, I you know, I had another kid, my second kid. We had him
when you were what?
Next year, the year after that.
Oh my!
Yeah, the year after that, we had another kid.
Wow!
And then so
he's like, you know what? I don't mind this working stuff.
No. The thing is that she couldn't. Well, we were having trouble with the protection.
Oh.
So it was hard for her to get on protection because everything would kind of have like, a side effect, bad side effect.
You know what? That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, that was bad for us. So that happened, and it was like, okay, well, fuck it, you know, let's step up. And from there, I decided to get an actual job that was paying like a full-time job.
And what was that?
That was my uncle's landscaping company.
Okay.
And from there, I started from the bottom there, and I moved my way up to foreman.
Were you still going to school?
No, at that time school was already like out of the picture with the first job. Yeah, no. Yeah, I worked my way up to a foreman. That's like I was like the guy in charge of making sure all the properties were getting their grass cut and everything. So I had a whole crew and everything.
What did you start off as in landscaping?
Just they call it, and for those, you know,
I don't know
that are listening.
Tell me,
to,
so maybe I can get a part-time job.
They're called chalanes, you know, and then chalanes, yeah.
It's almost like
I was a chalan, so that's basically just the helper of the foreman, or basically the helper of the guy that's in charge of the property.
Chalan, okay.
So I was just like the one that, hey, go pick up here, go trim this, go pick up this, go water the plants over there. So and then from there, like obviously I worked my way up to being a driver and doing that. Yeah.
And then from there, I mean, now you're doing this, you know, well, and photography and all that.
Well, this is recent.
Yeah.
Because this is like,
but also like photography, videography.
Yeah. So when I was working in landscaping, my cousin, shout out to my cousin Eric, he was actually a DJ. And I started DJing with him because I've always been into music. When I was actually
Korean store, DJ,
I have a whole
Taco Bell, recycling cans. He already did it all.
So I've always been into music. My dad, when I was 7 or 8 years old, I remember him and my uncle. Shout out my tío Rogelio too. They put me in an accordion class. So accordion. So I played the accordion when I said
accordion. I'm like,
when I was 7 years old, I played accordion.
Wow.
So I played in that, and I was.
So you were in a banda too?
No. I was. I actually just went to school to learn how to play.
Wow.
And so I've always been into music. So when my uncle, my tío Rogelio, same guy, he was a DJ, had passed it on to his son, and my cousin Eric's the one that introduced me to that again. And I was like, all right, fuck it, let's do it. It's gonna help for side money as well.
Yeah.
And I started DJing. I started working with my uncle, and
Did you have a DJ name?
Yeah.
I would confession right now.
We're gonna put pictures right here.
Okay.
It was DJ Choco was my first DJ name.
¿Y por qué Choco?
The color of my skin, my family
Como
from San Fernando. Chocomil. Oh. My family from San Fernando. Shout out all the family from over there. Always show me love. They put that name. They always call me Choco.
Did you have like one of those like sounds where it's like Choco?
Yes. I'm gonna drop it right here. So I was DJing for a bit, and then
like the color of my skin.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure why it's Choco. Okay.
No, yeah. So I was DJing for a bit, and then as DJ Choco, and then when I decided like the entrepreneurship you're talking about, like what I'm doing now, that started when I was like, you know what, I want to take this to another level. I want to make sure that I if I want to do this, I want to do this right.
Wow.
And I decided to invest money into my own company, into my own DJ brand. So I changed my name and to DJ Aslo, and shout out to my brother Chris. He came out with that, and it basically means do it in Spanish.
Aslo, wow.
Yeah, and we spell it with AZLO.
Ooh.
And so I started doing that, and I started buying panels and LED walls and lights and everything. So we wanted to do more like
really
a production.
Went, like, all out, yeah.
Yeah, with that company. And it was really tough. It was really tough.
What was tough about it?
Because that's like the first time that I actually knew what it took to run a business, or that.
Isn't it crazy? Like, I think a lot of the times I feel like most people are like, oh, I want to work for myself. Like, I want to be my own boss. But then you forget, like, hey, you're sick, man. You're not getting like the sick pay that the company would give you.
Yeah.
You're on vacation. No one else is like running the company for you, right? So yeah,
it was hard because there's, again, my dad taught me a lot of the work ethic, right?
Yeah.
Or the go work. So I've only learned that from him. But in terms of like structuring a company, structuring like management, structuring like organization, all that stuff, it was just as I was going, I was just trying to figure it out. Oh, I shouldn't do this. I should do this. So
what were some of the challenges you ran into aside from like structuring things?
Not knowing my clients, not knowing like how to target clients. At the time, I wanted to bring so much production value to clients that didn't want to pay as much or couldn't afford to pay that much. So I wanted to bring the big LED walls, like how you go to the concert, and I wanted to bring those to the quinceañeras. Now recently they've been bringing those, have been popular now.
Oh really?
But back then when I first started doing that, it was not. Yeah, it was just kind of like, why? That's too much. Like, we don't need that. We just want a DJ to play some music. So then that was a struggle. I built a team. We offered the photo booth services. We had different services, photography, and that's how all this kind of connects. Because my friend Felix, shout out Felix, he would go and film for us and to promote the company. So he would go record for me, and I would edit them. So that's how I started getting into the editing. Until there's times where videographers or photographers wouldn't show up to the event, and so their clients would tell me like, hey, like, could you, I saw you recorded. Is there anything you have? So I started creating videos for clients or weddings and quinceañeras. So that's how I started getting into it.
As you were doing DJing.
As I was doing DJing, yeah. And then slowly, because again, the clients that I wasn't kind of attracting and not knowing how to target, not knowing how to do marketing, I started losing a lot of business. So one of the clients luckily reached out to me and told me like, hey, like I'm getting married, but I want your video services. I really like how you edit. Wow. So I did that, and I told her, I'll do it for free. Like, don't worry about it. I just want to practice. Let me just try.
What a gamble for both of you.
Yeah, I needed money at the time. I needed money.
I feel like when you need money, you're like
fuck it, you'll take whatever. Like, and one of the things that I do have
like dollar
in myself,
right
that my dad instilled in me is belief. I think without that, you can't do this. You won't get too far.
You know what too? Like being able to step into feeling uncomfortable and like not knowing, because I was just telling my brother, I'm like, dude, like I hate feeling like I don't know how to do something, but he's like, then how would you learn? And I was like,
and I actually like that. I prefer that.
Oh, no me gusta.
I love putting myself in positions where I am comfortable. Hence my
comfortable
English,
or uncomfortable?
Uncomfortable. I'm sorry,
okay,
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Hence like here, as you guys can tell, like I have a stuttering thing that I've always had since I was a kid.
Honestly, I feel like you speak
and my vocabulary, obviously I didn't finish school. So I never kind of had that interest of like English or any, like that was not my priority or my kids. My priority was making sure that I was like working to make sure that they're taken care of.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I want to, for my business to grow, my wedding business or for any business that I do, like I know I need to work on my English and my vocabulary. So I was like, I'm going to do this thing where I talk to people. That way I can get comfortable with words and, you know, better myself. But yeah, I started doing this and it is uncomfortable, but I like it. I like
that's,
it.
I'm telling you, that's how we grow and learn. And it's like those moments where I put myself in something uncomfortable. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, next step.
Yeah. But after you're there, you're like, okay, whatever. Right.
Yeah. You learn and you're like, all right.
Yeah. So after that, I just the company, sadly, it didn't end up working out at the time.
DJ.
DJ company, it ended up working out. I had to sell my stuff. At the time I was dealing with some health issues, very depressing moments at that time as well.
What do you think was causing?
Well, I was definitely having health issues, and there's a time where I went to the doctor and they told the reason I lost a lot of weight. I went from 160 pounds to 100 in less than a month and a half, or even less than that. And the doctors got scared. And so they started testing me for cancer and stuff like that.
How did you feel like going through that? Share what you feel comfortable with, of course, you know.
Very scary, because when they start bringing up those words and those possibilities, I remember they did a test on me and they're like, it's going to take 30 days for us to get the results.
30 days?
You have no idea how fucking depressed and how I thought it was over, because all the symptoms, all the symptoms, everything that they said that could be related to that, I was feeling. So it was just basically like, okay, well, that's it. Like I've came to an end. Like that's it. Like once I have, like, I'm fucked. And every single day in the morning, I would wake up and just feel depressed. And I didn't want to go to work. I actually lost my truck. I lost everything because of those moments. I just couldn't feel.
How was your family during this time?
My girlfriend started working at McDonald's to bring in money, because I was not working no more. I couldn't because of my health. I couldn't because I was just depressed.
So your girlfriend's working at McDonald's. You've lost your truck. Yeah. You know, you're in a depressed state of mind. Yeah. And then your mom, how were your siblings?
They're super supportive, but I always, even to this day, I've always kept my emotional or like those moments more to myself. Wow. I like to deal with them more alone and more like, I don't know, maybe that's a bad thing, but I like to deal with them more by myself. But once they gave me the results and once they told me I was good and once I was kind of feeling a little bit better, I started just eating a little bit more. I started getting a little bit more like confident and happy and you know, started just looking at life a little bit different. And I was like, you know what, fuck it. I'm just gonna, you know, sell my stuff and I'm gonna just, you know, fuck it, go for broke and just go all out on the video stuff. I was like, I'm gonna do it. And
if you don't mind me asking, what did they say was causing the weight loss?
Till this day, they don't know. They just feel that it was a really, really bad virus. And my anxiety did not help, you know, because I started getting afraid to eat because I felt like throwing up so I didn't want to eat no more. Therefore, that led to me feeling nauseous all the time because I wasn't eating. I wasn't having the right nutrients. So that kind of fucked everything up.
Isn't it crazy how like your mindset can really affect like your physical body and
I didn't know what anxiety was. I didn't know what a depression was.
How would you describe anxiety?
My anxiety is like, mine is more like fearful of what can happen. Oh. That's the type of anxiety that I have. Like me, like feeling like, oh shit, I'm going to go to this event and I'm going to start feeling bad because I have felt those moments and feel dizzy.
Like the fear of like what will occur.
Yeah, what will occur. Yeah, all that. Like, and I love being nervous. I love, again, putting myself in uncomfortable positions, but
nervousness and excitement, physiologically, they're very similar. So if you ever feel nervous, you could just be like, oh my God, I'm so excited, you know, if you're going to public speak. But yeah, anxiety, that's a whole other.
Yeah. And I've struggled with anxiety for a long time. And ever since I was a kid, but I just didn't know what it was. I really didn't know what it was until the doctor started, you know, you have anxiety, you need to start eating. You need to like, don't think it's going to make you throw up or don't be scared of the food, just start eating. And so once I started getting like, again, I started having that hope that I was like, okay, I don't have this. I don't have what they thought I was going to have. I'm healthy. Like I'm good. Like, let's just fucking go, you know, like, fuck it, let's do it. Obviously the kids were my big motivation. You know, I wanted to make sure that they were taken care of. At the time we're living in my sister's living room. You know, again, I had lost everything. She was letting me sleep in her living room. And from there, I slowly, you know, started working again. My girlfriend was working. And that's when I decided to sell all my stuff and my DJ stuff. And I started buying cameras. I bought my first camera 2018. I bought my camera.
Barely.
Yeah. I bought my camera 2018 and I started I went up to my friend. He was a DJ at the time, or even till this day, he was my friend. Shout out DJ Bebel. And I told him, I was like, hey bro, like let me let me do the video stuff for you for free. Let me create promo videos for you at your weddings. I really want to get into the wedding industry. I want to start booking my clients, but I don't have experience. So let me just do it for free.
Wow.
And he gave me the opportunity to start shooting him, and we just started going all out with videos.
How long were you working for free?
With him?
Yeah.
For about a year.
Wow.
About a year. But
so where was your income coming in from for your family?
At the time when I quit my job, it was only him, and thank God he would like give me $100 or
and who is
$200. My friend, was a friend.
Wow, what a blessing! Did you say his name was Bebo?
DJ Bebo, Luis. His name is
Luis. Wow.
Yeah,
blessings
so
on you, man.
He really, really helped me out when it comes down to like making sure that my appearance and my confidence and the marketing and everything that has to do with business, he's the one that got me started with all that. He's the one that showed me like, hey, why don't you wear a blazer, a tux?
Oh, mira.
And I was like, what? That's weird. Like, I ain't gonna wear that. Like, what the fuck? I was still dressing kind of street. And I remember we had a meeting with one of his clients, and they were interested in booking me because of the videos that I shot. And then he's like, hey, like bring. So I remember I ordered a blazer. I still have that blazer.
We need to frame that.
It was from Amazon.
Oh,
I ordered it from Amazon. It was a little too big because I didn't know about tailoring. I didn't know any of that.
Oh, okay.
So it was a little too big, but I wore it. I got here. It was a little wrinkled. I took it and I put it on, and then
how did you feel?
I felt like a boss. I was like, oh hell yeah, I felt good. And they booked.
Wow.
So I was like, oh shit, that it works. Like changing how you look.
The lucky blazer.
Yeah, all that it does work. You know, when you put a little bit of effort into how you look and how you present yourself, that shows a lot.
You feel good. You look good. You feel more confident. I think like. Dude, there's been times where I don't put myself together, and then I see someone at Target. I'm like, no, like I don't even want to speak to them, you know. But if I feel you, man.
Yeah,
so the lucky blazer.
So yeah, I still have that to this day here in my closet and stuff. I will probably frame it most likely because that was actually the first blazer that got me started with booking clients and knowing what it was like to get like okay, like I'm actually doing something.
That's
like,
great.
Something's actually working. So when I started doing that, I started again. He started paying me. We started working together. Clients started booking. So I actually started working a year after that because clients, when they book you for a wedding, it's usually like a year and a half in advance. So I still had time, like, okay, I'm already booking clients for next year. So I already had something going for 2019.
Good.
So I was
something
like, okay, cool. Yeah. I was like, okay, cool. 2019, we're going to be good. And yeah, like 2019 came, I actually met, talking about like the influencers. I remember one time Bebo told me he's like, hey, come and do a video for me and I was like, okay, let's go. So I tell my brother like, hey, let's go shoot Bebo promo video. And he told me it was in Corona. And when I searched up the address, it was like I thought Corona was like 30 minutes.
Yeah,
this
where
Corona, it was in Lake Elsinore.
That is, yeah.
So I was like,
Canyon Lake
yeah.
area.
So I was like, damn, that's far. So I was like, I was gonna lag it, and luckily I didn't because that's the day that I met Jose Luis. Jose Luis he's a event coordinator.
Okay, I really thought Jose Luis sin censura. Do you know?
No.
I was like, I forgot about him.
Imagine. No. Jose Luis is an event coordinator. He's in charge of the wedding venue from Rancho El Toro, and that's where he was at.
Rancho El Toro.
Yeah, it's over there in close to Lake.
My next birthday event will be.
It's really really nice.
Oh, okay, Rancho El Toro. Okay.
And so I met him there, and he he saw the video that I made for Bebo, and he obviously liked my work.
Wow.
And he's the one that got me into the influencer world. He's the one that.
How was that, or who was like the first influencer you worked with?
I honestly forget her name. I think it was Daniela something. But Danielle.
And what did she have an event at that?
She had
place?
So that day it was a wedding. That's where I met him.
Okay.
But after he reached out and he's like, hey, I have this event for this influencer. I didn't even know what an influencer was. I didn't even know what that like.
He's like, all I knew is that I was one.
No. I really didn't know. Like I was like literally just doing weddings. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, well, how does this work or what? And he's like, oh, we can pay you or we can do a collaboration, everything. And I was like, okay, like, well, I need money. So at the time I was like, I'm gonna charge you like this amount of money. So I went to go do the event. It was a
what was it?
Baby shower brunch.
Okay.
So it was a baby shower brunch, but I did a little story about like I always just would record like, oh, I'm here at the event. So I recorded that on my Instagram. People on my Instagram were like, hey, well, she's there and this girl's there and Beauty Bird is there. And I had no idea who. It's
almost better that you didn't know to like not.
Yeah,
feel like...
and after that I started feeling a little like nervous because I was like, oh shit, these are big people. I started searching them up. I was like, oh shit, like what the fuck, like what's going on?
You're like, wait, 100,000 followers.
Yeah, I was like 100,000, 800,000. I was like, that's crazy. So then I started restructuring my my kind of my way of doing marketing and
how did you start restructuring it?
Because before, when I was doing the DJ stuff, I was just buying equipment and in hopes for the clients to be like, oh, he has these lights, get him, you know, or he has this, get him, he plays this type of music, get him. And then with the wedding clients, it was more like his video is going to show like what we want, right? So like the video that I turn in is what's gonna want people to book me. So that's how I was doing it with the video. But with influencers, like I want to get more exposure. I want to book more weddings, or I want to create a brand. I want to make a brand, but I can't do that if I don't have exposure. So I started telling Jose Luis what I told Bebo, which was like, hey, I'll go shoot these events for you for free. Like, I don't mind. It doesn't even have to be for the influencer. It can be for your like company, like the events. And you know, don't pay me. Just tag me on the videos and
that is so smart.
And just mention me, and then you know we're good. And yeah, so we started doing that. I started creating a relationship with influencers, and they started booking me on their own. And till this day, like we work good together.
Wow. Who has been like the biggest influencer that you've worked with? It's hard to say, huh?
It's really hard to say.
Or who have been some of your favorite people that you've worked with, where you're like, man, I love working with this person?
I definitely appreciate the first ones that started booking me, you know.
And who
Alan Eyes, Net 69, you know, them Louis, they're the ones that helped me really. The Murillo twins, shout out to Murillo twins. They really helped me out with my brand and what I have now, you know.
Who like, out of like the people you just named, all amazing. I love all of their stuff. Who was like the first one that you worked with? Was it Alanized?
I think it was Alan.
Dude,
like,
I remember his videos when he would eat con su mamá.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Alan will watch this. Hopefully he does. But I would follow his mom on Instagram because I always wanted to cook with her because I love to eat.
Yeah, he used to do cooking videos with her.
Yeah, dude, I love those. Y comían unas comidas bien ricas. Yeah.
Yeah, I think to this day, su mom todavía cocina and does that.
I'm going to go to her house. I know.
Yeah, so I for sure, I think it was Alan, the first influencer that I worked with directly.
Wow.
And yeah, so I really do appreciate all of them. But for sure, like one of my favorite events that I've done, it has been Louis' party.
Why?
Like that. I just felt like there's a lot of love that day. There's a lot of people that were supporting him, and
that's amazing.
And I can imagine like these influencers, they get a lot of shit, you know, on Instagram and TikTok now. And
why do you say that?
Because of their lifestyle and because of who they are. And that's the reason, one of the other reasons why I wanted to do these episodes, because I was like, I want to get to know people more on a deeper level. And working with them has helped me understand more of the strategizing and knowing how, like, okay, upload this video at this time, and more like the marketing. Yeah. And they do a lot of work, and I admire their work ethic, because it's not hard. It's not easy creating videos out of the blue. You know,
I was watching one of your episodes, and one of the guests you had on here, she was mentioning how she would do like Uber Eats or something on the side. Do you remember how I'm talking about? But anyway, she was like, oh, some months like I wouldn't be making any money, and some months, and I was like, wow, that is like, you're really your own boss, and you hope that you get brand deals. Yeah,
that's another fucking business hard. That I have no idea how that runs, but. Yeah, it's I can imagine how hard it can be with them too. Like they depend on brand deals and stuff like that, monetization from YouTube. So it's a whole different ball game. That's what I'm trying to get into now. Yeah. But yeah, like it's been super crazy, crazy working with them.
But for someone that's watching this is looking to get into, you know, the industry that you do, which is, you know, photography, videography, what advice would you give someone, or like, where have you met, like, I hate to say it messed up, but like, what have been some of the biggest lessons for you? Where like, oh man, I would have done that differently had I started again, right?
Wow,
because I'm sure there's a lot of people watching that are looking to get into it, and perhaps they have their full-time job and they just want to know. I think everyone wants to know, like, hey, tell me the risk.
Okay, so this is about to get a little something that I've been wanting to talk about for a little bit. But I definitely think organization and communication
for your learning lessons.
Yeah, because like I was saying before, my whole career, when it comes down to entrepreneurship, it's just been learning as I go.
Yeah.
And when I'm talking about like a DJ company, like probably I would say out of the whole year, probably 20 bookings, right? Like not that much. To working for free and then start working with influencers and then get an insane amount of bookings is something that I really was not expecting or ready for at all. And how to organize and manage it and, you know, create a system for like the editing and stuff was not, you know, I was just like, okay, well, I do this wedding, I edit it the next day. And that's what I was known for back in the day. It was like the next day edit. Like I would have a video the next day. Sometimes I would come from the club when I would do my friends' promo videos. And that night I would come and edit it. And the next morning it was already up. It was ready. So I always had that, like, I want to have events ready like the next day. And so when I started doing events for weddings, I was not prepared for the amount of work that came.
Just so if someone has an idea, like, were you booked like every weekend? Like how frequent were your bookings?
Well, it was tough because so in 2000 I started booking weddings in 2018 for me to start shooting in 2019.
Wow.
Right? So when I started shooting in 2019, in the middle of 2019, everything was super good. I would, you know, do the wedding, you know, it was a one wedding a weekend, maybe 2 weddings in a weekend, and it was cool. Like it was dope. So by the end of 2019, I was already booking weddings for 2020, 2021. So I was like, everything's going fucking amazing. You know? Like I'm creating this brand, like I'm shooting with influencers. Everything was great. So I was like, you know what? Like I told my brothers, I was like, let's purchase a house. Like we need to start. We need to move. So we purchased a house at the end of 2019 in October, and then 2020 comes. The pandemic.
Dude, no one was ready for that.
and I was like, fuck. PTSD. So everything stopped. And all the events were getting canceled, postponed and everything. So I was like, fuck, like, how am I going to do it? I started getting a lot of messages and a lot of calls by people. Obviously, they're losing their loved ones. They're losing their jobs. They're losing, you know, their parents had passed away or their grandpa or something. Yeah. So it was really hard. And it was like, I had to make a decision in terms of like, what do I do? Like, I just bought this house, you know,
this house.
This house. I was like, should I give them a refund? I didn't know what to do as a business owner. I didn't know what to do. So I would call other vendors. I'm like, what are you guys doing? They're like, no, like
you didn't know what to do because there was no work.
There's no work. And then it's like, they put a deposit and they needed that deposit because they were losing their jobs, or they were just like, we don't want to lose a deposit and then, you know, have to pay another deposit for another date.
Yeah.
So I was like, what the fuck do I do? So I started reaching out to vendors and they're like, no, when you know, they lost the deposit. Like, that's it. Like I was like, wait, but like, what do you mean? Like, that's it? Like, well, if we don't do their event, like their day gets canceled. Like, and I just really didn't want to do that. I was like, that's so fucked up.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to charge you guys postponing fees. Like, I'm not going to charge you guys. Just let me know when you guys are ready to book or when you guys have a date. And then, you know, we'll see. And that kind of was a big fuck up for me because I really did try doing a good thing.
Yeah.
But in doing that, I fucked myself over with overbooking myself in terms of the work. So when 2020 hit, I started shooting every weekend. And some events were even during the week.
I feel like,
because it was just everything.
People were just trying to get what they could, like trying to get the wedding done. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, 2021, I think it was 2021. But yeah, so once the wedding event started opening up, I started working every weekend, and it was super, super hard. And and what I didn't have in consideration were like the re-edits, like, if you can change this, you know, put this here, like instead of this. So like little things like that, where it was not helping out. So 2021 was like, I got super backed up, and a lot of clients started getting frustrated because they're like, hey, like, what's going on? Like, why? Or my events? And it's like, okay, like I'm trying. Like, it was really, really overwhelming for me. And again, me not having that, my biggest, I would say my biggest struggle that I have in terms of myself is like the lack of communication and the organization of like the company that I didn't have. I didn't have a system yet.
Yeah. That's hard. And that's something I've learned in like being in real estate as well, like over communicating. And aside from like real estate, I also do apartment home leasing, but there's certain things that like maybe I don't need to communicate, but I'll literally call my client and be like, hey, we received your application. It looks fantastic. And then let people know like what to expect. Yeah. And like, I'm sure, I mean, you know, all of this now too, but our application process, for instance, can take up to 3 days. Most of the time, dude, I could get someone's app done 10 minutes for real. But like, I'll let my client know like, hey, Adrian, thank you so much. I just want to let you know, it can take up to 3 days at this time. I don't need any further, you know, information from you, just so at least you give yourself like that like cushion. Right. Yeah. But of course, like no one was expecting how busy you'd be in 2021, right?
Yeah, no,
that was a hard learning lesson.
It was super hard. And then so 2021, my fucking dumbass decided to come up with another bright idea, which is like, well, I feel bad for the clients. I want to bring value. I want to make sure I do this right for the future clients. So I ended up getting a red camera. For those of you photographers, video, it's a red camera. It's a different type of cinema camera. So for those videographers, photographers out there, I decided to start shooting weddings on a red camera, which is super a really big mistake when you have that, because it takes so much longer to edit. But I didn't know that at the time.
What are the benefits of a red camera?
It just makes your wedding look more like an actual film, like Netflix, like type of. So I wanted to bring that type of value to the client. So I was like, like I want to do something nice and for them, and that it just every decision I think I was making to better the situation was not working out, and.
Trial and
error. And but again, at the time the clients don't see it like that. It's their wedding, it's their day, it's their moment, it's their memories. They don't give a fuck about what I'm going through. They just want to make sure that I don't lose their footage and the wedding gets edited. So so it was really, really hard. That bled into 2020. I mean, till last year. And I recently am barely getting out of that editing.
Would you say that you burned any bridges during that time?
Yes, of course.
And let me ask you this. I mean, and I see like how sorry you are right now, and people don't know what you were going through. They probably just thought, oh my God, like he's just taking forever, right? What would you say to those clients that perhaps their video was prolonged and I know you feel bad about that?
I would first like to say I apologize. Yeah. That's like, it's there's no excuse. I feel when it comes down to even communicating better, and that's something that I didn't have, or I didn't know how to communicate because I didn't know how long I was going to take. So it was really hard for me to be like, okay, this is the day you're going to have your event, your video, because I didn't know that. I didn't know that at the time. And I don't even want to get into the albums and printing and all that stuff because that's another fucking topic. But that has been another nightmare that I know that for sure. Like I'm not.
I hope they watch this and they have a better understanding of where you're coming from and why it was prolonged. And obviously you've learned from that and moving forward.
Yeah. And that's what I have planned this year. It's like rebuilding my brand, because that definitely, like you're saying, I did burn a lot of bridges. Customer service is like one of the main things that I wanted to make sure that I did a good in that. But I did burn a lot of bridges, even in my Instagram. As I was doing weddings, I was growing on Instagram.
Wow.
But I couldn't really show exactly what I was doing, because I didn't think it was fair at the time to start to post, I'm with Chiquis, or I'm with the twins, or I'm doing this with this person.
When people are waiting.
But when the people are waiting for their wedding, I had contracts with them, and I needed to make sure that fulfill them as well. And I'm not saying that their contracts were more, I prefer more their contracts than theirs, because at the end of the day, they both paid. However, a 8-hour wedding video compared to like a minute video that I'm gonna turn in, exactly, it's completely different, and of course clients would get frustrated, and I wanted to say here, like, there's no one, like, my wedding clients are my main priority, and I want to make sure that their film gets taken care of in a way where I'm not rushing it. I didn't want to just, I just went to do their event, here's your video, like, because I can edit a wedding video like within an 8-hour day. And
I'm sure, like, going back to like communication, even like, for instance, with our apartment homes, like sometimes we take up to 12 days to get the apartment home ready for someone if people want to move in sooner. But it's like, no, I'm not willing to sacrifice your quality. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, you're right. Yeah. The quality and making sure that I don't miss anything with an influencer event. Like, it's just a highlight of like what happened the night before. When it comes to a wedding video, it's like you're trying to create a story, and sometimes there were clients who were like, we don't care. Like, we just want the video. It's like, okay. It sucks.
You're like, but hold on.
It sucks. Like, because like I would like doing this. I have a passion for editing. I have a passion, and I'm gonna be honest with you. There came a moment where I got kind of bummed out in a way, because it's like, I like doing this, and to see how many clients were upset, or to see the feedback that I was getting was really like, kind of like, fuck, I don't know if I should be doing this anymore,
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're still doing it. And like I said, I think the most important thing is that you learn from that and you've become better. And, you know, to communicate more and no one, like I said, no one knew what would happen after 2020. I think that was an abnormal year for many businesses. Yeah. So, and I'm sure everyone watching this too, they can relate in some sort of way.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. I know now. So if you guys are starting out your company or a business, any business, communication, organization, creating a system before, even though you think like, oh, I'm a small business, doesn't fucking matter. Like,
the thing is, you like blew up so fast too,
because you never know, especially now with TikTok and everything, all these social media apps. Like, just organize, structure, and make sure that you create a system, because you never know when that's gonna come and play. If I would have had a system and a team of editors and just something that we just kind of had ready, it would have been a fantastic 2-3 years.
This is also how we learn, though, you know, through like the bumps in the road and stuff. Now with all of this and having all that you have right now, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where would you like to take all of this? You know, have you thought about that?
A little. I mean, I have long-term goals, you know, like I really do want to retire when I'm like 40, 45. Like I don't want to retire old. I really imagine myself living my life or enjoying my life.
What would you like to do once you retired before we get into that?
Honestly, I don't know. Honestly, I really don't know. But I just don't. I know for sure I don't want to fucking work. Like that's the thing.
Well, I was asking my dad because my dad's gonna retire soon, you know, God willing, and he's like, pienso que voy a trabajar en Costco. And I said, in Costco, because I used to work at Costco, and I was like, and what would you be doing? He's like the person that checks the receipts, you know. But I was like, because I mean, I think you like want to do something, but it's like, oh, now that I have this free time that I wanted so badly, what is it that, you know, I'm going to do? Yeah,
I know for sure. Like these past years, I've been working so much, and that's led to like a lot of
since like 16.
Yeah, so it has led to a lot of like emotional moments and sad moments, happy moments as well. But I definitely want to do more investing and want to do more of long-term goal moves, you know, because I don't like you're saying, when I got sick, and that's one of the things I haven't even talked about. Like during the time where I was editing, like I was still dealing with health issues. This past year I got my gallbladder removed. I was having, you know, stomach pains. So like I've dealt with a lot of things that kind of, you know, haven't been like so positive. But so I want to be more of an investor and get passive income. And that's like what I would want to do the next 5 years. Just focus on more like, how can I invest and how can I make bigger moves? Like real estate.
I remember we had a brief conversation before and you mentioned something about a hotel.
Yeah, I want to. My goal is to own hotels.
Wow.
Like that's like really getting into real estate. And that's the reason why I got this house.
You have your realtor right here.
No, for sure. Hey, we're going to leave her links down below. So you guys better go follow her. But yeah, definitely owning hotels. I want to do that. But
why hotels?
I don't know. For some weird reason, I don't know, maybe it's the movies that I watch, but I've always thought that it would be so cool to live on the top floor, like a penthouse.
Penthouse, yeah.
Like I would always, even though I'm afraid of heights, I just want to get there. Once
you're afraid of heights? That's what it is.
Yeah, I'm afraid of heights.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. Every time I go to a hotel and I look down, I get that stomach thing. I was like, oh.
Do you want to know something? One time my friend was like, I don't want to make this long, but she was like, amiga, I could jump from a plane. And I was like, girl, like my hands sweat just thinking about that, right? And I don't know how she convinced me, but we basically ended up going. You did it? Dude, okay. And I wrote, hi, mom, on my hands because when you jump out, they like film, right? When I looked, it was a Sharpie. My hands were just black, like black palms because my hands were sweating so bad. And my friend Hessie was like, amiga, ¿estás bien? Because you guys know I'm like tan, you know? And she's like, te ves bien pálida. I was so scared, dude. And I told the guy too, I was like, oh, I want to go third because I'm like, okay, I see one person, second person. Then I just don't want to go last. I was last. Damn. and then I told the guy, I said, you know what? I'd rather just go down with the plane. And he said, you'll lose your money. And I said, that's fine. And then he said, you'll regret this the rest of your life. And I said, that's fine. Because I really didn't want to do it at that point because I was the last one. Everyone, you know, you would just see people falling like, bye. Yeah. Dude, I was so scared. And then the guy was like, just look over. At this point, I don't even know what happened, but he was like, 1, 2, even though I told him I didn't want to. And then we just flew out.
How was it?
It was, no one tells you these things, but first of all, it feels like your legs get ripped off because you have like a harness on. And I was like, oh my God. And then you also can't breathe for like the first 60 seconds because the wind is hitting you so hard.
See, I'm happy you say that because a lot of people say, oh my God, the experience was amazing, breathtaking. But then they don't say like, how do you feel though?
No. first of all, you're terrified going up, right? Like they give you this watch that tells you how high you're going. And I kept thinking, oh my God, we're high enough. We're high enough. We weren't even halfway because you jump out like 16,000 feet, 17,000 feet, right?
Yeah.
And then everyone is different. I'm not like an adrenaline person. I don't like roller coasters. I don't even like to look out windows off the top of hotels, right? But yeah, you can't, this is my experience. I couldn't breathe for like the first 60 seconds. And then it really felt like my legs got ripped off. And I was just in such a panic. And they tell you need to pull your parachute once you get to like a minute. I was so scared I didn't pull the parachute. Thank God you go with someone because they'll pull it for you, right? Once they pulled it, that was beautiful. I was like, wow.
Like you're like gliding in.
Yeah, that is beautiful because you're like, oh my God, the scenery is so gorgeous, right? But initially, dude, like going up there, physically jumping out, like if you don't want to do it, I don't recommend it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
So that's what you're gonna do next.
I know for sure I'm going to end up doing it because I know I'm like that. Where I say like, oh, I'm never gonna do that. Like,
all right, next week.
Even roller coasters. I've never
been on a roller coaster.
Been onto knots nor to fucking stop. Like none of that. No.
You've never been on a roller coaster?
No.
Okay, we're gonna have to do like a live stream.
No, I'll never do that. And but I know I will. You know, like that's how I am. I'll be like, I'll never.
You can start off with the small ones at Disneyland.
Yeah, maybe. But that's what I'm saying. Even like the plane situation. Like I was like, it was just on a 1 hour flight. Let's try it. And then so I think I'll end up doing a roller coaster. I think I'll end up skydiving, hopefully. Like I don't know.
All right,
but
if you do, you need to make it like a whole vlog out of that.
I'll for sure vlog.
I'll be at the bottom with like a poster or something. You know,
you're like, you're here.
I know. You made it. Yeah. Wow. Well, that was really good. I'm so honored to have been able to interview you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm excited to see you skydive and get your hotel done. And see what else you come up with, because I feel like through this interview, it's really just shown an evolution of how you can always sobresalir in any situation.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things that has helped is belief. I think that's one of the fucking key things that I would say anyone that's going through struggles. I know there's going to be moments where you feel like you're alone, or you feel like, why am I going through this? Why am I broke? Why don't I have money? Why is this company or this strategized thing that I planned didn't work? But just believe in yourself, believe in, and if you've done it once, you're going to do it again. And that's one of the things that I notice about myself right now. It's like, I know that I fucked up, but I know that where I can get to, and not in a cocky way. I just have that much confidence in myself. And I think that's what I'm afraid.
Man, that is amazing.
I'm afraid to be confident in, to have that confidence because I don't want to become, cocky, And I think that's a fucking,
I don't think like, there's a difference between having confidence and being cocky about it. I think you have a very humble spirit to yourself, and I think people see how hard you work, and you're also willing to help others out. And I think that speaks volumes. So I don't think anyone watching this will ever think that, you know?
And I think that probably comes from family, and I'm not saying just specifically my family. I'm just saying in general, like when you buy something, or when you have something, or when you're starting to be successful in something, obviously the family is the first one that kind of tries to tear you down and tries to be like, hey, like, pues ya se cree, ya porque está con esto, ya porque está con influencers. And I've gotten that, and I've heard comments like that. And I think that's what's like, oh, I have to try to act different with my family now.
I have to say, I think sometimes that stems from like some sort of like jealousy. And sometimes like we don't even realize we're doing like, oh, like yes, I could or something. But I always think anytime you level up in life, like I think it's important to show those around you like, hey, not only do I level up, but as I level up, like we level up, and giving back to your family as well.
Yeah. And I think too, I'm probably going to get shit for saying this, but I think it's really true. And I've noticed this time and time that I talk about this, because there's a person that I spoke to that's not family for me, but is really, really close to the family.
Is it better?
And no.
I'm just kidding.
He told me, I was telling him, because I like to, like, I don't know, like when they ask me like, how you been? How's everything? I like to, I don't know. They're asking me. So I like to share like, oh, I've been doing this. This is exciting. I'm really excited about what I do. So I tell him, and I was like, oh, my bad, bro. Like I stepped back, and I was like, hey, my bad. Like, I don't want to say, I'm already saying too much. He's like, no, he's like, look, he's like, I don't give a fuck who you shot with, nor that makes me feel less of a person on the success you're having. Yeah. You can talk to me about whatever the fuck you're doing, because I'm happy where I'm at, and I'm not jealous, nor I don't feel envy, nor I don't feel, I'm happy for you. And that was a complete different feedback than the conversations that I had with other people, because that's where you can tell, or it's like, oh, okay, it's hard because when I talk about what I'm doing to people that are probably not in the position where they want to be at, they take it as like, oh, this was being cocky. But when I talk to people that are like, obviously had struggles, had those hard upbringings, and are now successful and have become something on themselves, they are the ones that are like, oh, bro, like, guess I'm gonna do 20 million here, I'm gonna do 1 million here. And when I talk to them, I'm not like, I don't feel envy of them. I feel proud.
Yeah. And that's how it should be. And I think it's great to analyze, like, who is it that I decide to share true, like, logros
Yeah.
with? And yeah, you hit the nail on the head where you say, like, hey, where you said, maybe if sometimes people aren't happy, like, where they're at, like, they just can't be happy for you. So I think that goes into, like, social awareness, because I even have, like, I had some people in my life where I'm like, dude, I feel like every time I say what's going on, like, I just get like a bad vibe, you know?
Yeah.
So I think with those people, like, hey, how have things been? Like, oh, they've been good. How about yourself? And I'll like turn it on them, you know, because not that we like do this intentionally, but you don't want anyone to like feel bad either.
Yeah.
Because they're struggling through their own things.
Exactly.
Right?
But that's the thing. Like, even right now, like, so that person that I was talking to, I told him, I was like, look, man, he's like, I told him, I was like, it's not as big as people think. You know, I may be shooting these influencers. I may be shooting.
Don't like.
No, but it's I'm happy, right? And it's great that I'm doing this, and I'm grateful for for the things that I've accomplished. But I feel that when people see that you shoot someone or you're with someone, then they automatically think you already made it. And I tell them, like, I'm just a vendor. You know, at the end of the day, like, I don't consider myself like, oh, fucking, I've already been with Grupo Firme. I've been around Kylie. I've been around Iris. I've been around Alan, the Mori. Like, that does not mean that I already, like, you know, made it. So, and it's hard.
I just have to tell you too, dude, like, also, like, give yourself credit, you know, where it's not necessarily like you're like flexing on anyone, but you're just speaking your truth. And I think when you speak your truth, then like, it is what it is, you know. Basically, like, you just want to speak with facts, and really, like, the people that love you and that support you will be really happy for you, because I think it's also good to give yourself a pat on the back, and really just speaking to you through this conversation, like, wow, he's done a lot, you know. And yeah, it's cool that you've worked with Cheekies and Alan Eyes and the twins, you know. So it's like, yeah, I work with them, and then let people form their own opinions and judgments.
And I think that's what I really want to do this year is kind of just accept who I am, because I think that's what I've been shying away from that. You know, every time someone tells me like, oh, you know, you're doing this, you're doing that, I kind of get weirded out. I don't like to hear that. Like, really? I just don't like that type of attention of like, oh, like, because I don't know what to say. Oh, thank you. Like, I don't know what to say to that. So but I really want to just accept what I'm doing.
Good.
Okay, I shoot these people. I'm gonna do it. Like, I'm gonna actually try and accept it and go 100%. And now that all the wedding clients are you know, the wedding videos and everything is getting delivered, I feel that and that's the reason why I wanted to do this now, because now is like, okay, I'm in the right place now. You know, I'm clear. New year.
Healthy.
I want to just, you know, there's obviously still emotional, mental health things that I'm going
always,
to, you know. I think with you know, making sure that we work every day and making sure that we try to stay positive every day it's gonna help. It's gonna help out, you know.
Wow, good stuff, man.
Well, thank you for being here. I really do appreciate that.
Thank you for having me here.
I really do appreciate it.
And I'm really excited to see at the end of the year. It'll be cool to do maybe some sort of check-in next year.
Oh, I'm down.
And do an update.
I'm down. And if there's anything that you guys want me to go in more in further detail, like there is a lot of shit that I left out. It's not. I don't want to make the podcast too long.
I know.
I just kind of skimmed through a lot of things. But if you guys have any more questions, or if you guys want to know a little bit more, I'll be more than happy to do a part 2 or something, just to kind of go more in deep of.
That was really great. Yeah, that was really good.
Well, thank you for being here.
Of course.
I'm gonna leave her links down below. Make sure you guys go follow her. Make sure you guys go check out her stuff. She's a really good realtor. She's super amazing. She's super positive.
Oh, thank
you. Go follow her Instagram. With that being said, don't forget to follow my all my social media platforms. I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, I'm on YouTube. So subscribe, like, comment, share. And with that being said, guys, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Perfect.
Dude, that was great. That was so good.
That was scary.